Hi, and welcome to Teaching Tip Tuesday. Hi, my name is Michelle, aka the Ignited Teacher. And what I do here on Teaching Tip Tuesday is I help you to close math learning gaps by providing you with research-based and effective math strategies that can be implemented in your classroom as early as the very next day. And thank you so much for joining me. If you're joining me live or if you're joining me on the replay, thank you for watching Teaching Tip Tuesday. So, before we get started, if you cannot catch me live and you're watching me on the replay and you're new to the live stream, what you can do is hop on over to my YouTube channel. If you're watching me on Twitter or Facebook or some other platform, you can always catch all of my Teaching Tip Tuesday videos on my YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is called The Ignited Teacher. I am currently the only one on YouTube under The Ignited Teacher. You can hop on over there. Definitely subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the bell notification button so that you'll be notified when I go live, upload some new videos, or add any content to my community. And definitely don't forget to like this video. Well, this live stream, it'll be a video if you're watching me on the replay, and leave a comment and say hi, tell me where you're watching from and what grade you teach or who you support, and I will definitely get back to you. So thank you again for watching Teaching Tip Tuesday. So here are some upcoming episodes. I have been working on February topics, and it's all about closing learning gaps. That's what this is about. So it's all about closing learning gaps. So we've been talking about learning progressions. We've been talking about today is progress monitoring. And then we're going to talk about some other strategies as we wind down in February. If you don't know it, my birthday is on Monday. Yay, birthday. I know this is going to shock a lot of you all. I will be 48 years old. So some of you all don't know that. You know, even my students are shocked. They're like, "You're 40?" Yes, I am. And I will be 48 and my son will be 28 next week. So I am excited about 48 because if you don't know, I'm an empty nester. My son moved out. He's 27. And my grandson visits periodically every couple of weeks when my son has him. And yeah, I'm in a different phase of my life. And the best feeling is not having your kids living with you. Love my son. He just moved 10 minutes down the street. But yeah, it's a different phase. And I'm looking forward to the next phase of my life. So yeah, next week is my birthday. It's going to be different. Yeah, way different. So let's go ahead and jump into it tonight. And tonight's topic is, are your math strategies working? That is a question. One of the things that I find funny or interesting about teachers, especially, teachers get really, really funny about, if they're using a strategy and the strategy isn't working. And a lot of teachers won't concede to this strategy is not working. I'm going to tell you about a story. I was a master teacher, and most people don't know this. They think that I've always been a teacher, and I have been in the classroom. But I was out of the classroom as an instructional coach for almost 3 years. And I had a situation where I had to evaluate a teacher. And when we went to go do the evaluation, at the time I was a master teacher under the TAP program. It's the Teacher Advancement Program. And I went in with another mentor teacher because I was the master teacher. I was the lead on it. And she was teaching the teacher was teaching a student that did not have the basic foundation for division. So the student was at the board. He was visibly struggling. So what I was looking for was the teacher to transition back to groups because he did not understand the standard algorithm, but the teacher never conceded. And that's what I wrote in her evaluation. I was like, the strategy, that was not working for him. And what should have happened was that, you bring it back. The instruction should have been adjusted for the student because he was struggling. He was up there for like 20 minutes and the teacher never conceded. Obviously, she didn't agree with me, but nonetheless, that's what should have actually happened. So tonight we're going to talk about progress monitoring. What do you need to know? How does it work? And what are some of the things that you should be looking for in your data? Now, I'm going to bring up a data set from my students years ago. I have had years of data sets, 20 years of them. So I'm going to bring up my data set as, my students are, they were at the time. They were 5th grade students. So what I'm going to start out with is, what is progress monitoring? Progress monitoring, is the last part of the intervention cycle. And a lot of people really don't understand that there's a cycle for intervention. The first part is the universal screener. A lot of school districts screen all of their students. You're supposed to screen them at the beginning of the year. When I first started out in a star grade level, I was working in a school district, we used to use release benchmark tests. Now that I know better, that was actually not a good idea because you're giving the kids the grade level placement test that they're actually at, and you're asking them to take a test that they know nothing about. So a lot of our scores were low, but did it serve its purpose at the time? Absolutely. So if you are without a universal screener, that's one thing that you can do. You can give the test for the current grade level to see what the kids know about that, and that will serve as your baseline data. Then, after you have your universal screener, you start your interventions, but not immediately. So I generally recommend that teachers wait at least a grading period, because one of the things that is going to do is going to tell you what the kids can do, how much effort, because you have some can do but won't do students. And then it gives a chance for you to know your children. And when I say get to know your students, that means what they do, what they like, kind of get a feel for them academically and build some type of relationship. A lot of times kids will work for you when another teacher previously could not get them to work. And I'm seeing that, I've seen that over and over again. So once kids get like some good instruction, some good tier 1 instruction with some tier 2 strategies weaved in there, a lot of students will move. And I've seen that before where kids did not do well in a previous grade level. But once they got decent instruction, they took off. So that's one of the things that why I recommend that you wait a grading period. If it's 9 weeks, I would say wait 6 weeks, not the whole 9 weeks. That last 3 weeks you can give towards creating a plan. So after you kind of create a profile for those students, you look at where you want to begin. Now, this is the heavy lifting. That's the heavy lifting where do I want to begin? And I get this question in the group. I've seen it in my math intervention group. Where do I begin? Now, that's the $1 million question. And I tell teachers, and I know there's some teachers that are going to disagree with me, there is not a tech platform that can tell you exactly where a student needs to, where you begin with a student. Now, they'll give you a range and give you a topic of where you need to actually begin, but it's not going to pinpoint it down to, oh, this is the standard they need to work on. Because first of all, the program only knows as much as what a human puts in them. So that goes back to you have to use your vertical alignment and learning progressions to know what mastery looks like in a learning progression and what is taught previous grade levels and where the children or student is going. So that's the next step. Once they have done that, you've done an intervention cycle, it's now time to progress monitor, which brings us today. Progress monitoring tells you if the strategy that you used actually worked, which brings me to this. So I've used different kinds of strategies throughout my 21 years of teaching. But here, these are from 2 different years because it was 2 different groups of students. The Tier 2 strategy was for kids that were struggling with division. Obviously, the Tier 1 strategy had less support. So when I finished up a cycle for division, because in 5th grade, in Texas, the standard algorithm is one of the things they have to know. So I used this strategy. And progress monitoring, what I would do is take the rigor of the actual assessment that the children must take, which is STAR, and give them 4 questions from there. And that was my progress monitoring. Progress monitoring, I know it sounds like this huge thing, but it's not. It's just, it answers the question, did the strategy work? And that's what you're looking for. If it didn't work and the kids did not exit from small group in that skill, you go back and look at what is working and what didn't work, adjust the strategy, start the cycle again. That's what progress monitoring is in the scope of an actual strategy. And that's the cycle. That's what the math intervention cycle is about. A lot of teachers get confused about that. There's well, I don't have anything to yes, you do. You have something to progress monitor them with. It is the stuff at your grade level, but it must be at the rigor of the assessment. Whatever the kids are being held to, that rigor needs to be replicated to say whether or not the strategy worked or not. Now, how does progress monitoring work over the course of a school year? Well, I do 2-week cycles. 2-week cycles of a strategy. I don't go longer than that because a lot of the kids are not coming to you blank. You teach like for division. Division is a year-long struggle. And I don't know why school districts say, oh, teaching in 2 weeks. I never taught division in 2 weeks, ever. I would run through it for a couple of days, and the rest of the kids get it in small group if you didn't get it in the whole group. Your tier 1 kids are the ones who are going to pick up on it, and those are the ones you're trying to get out of the way anyway. The other kids, they get it through small group. Division is a year-long process. So once I would get batches of kids that would exit intervention on division. So I would give the same for word problems. And the criteria for exiting for progress monitoring, you can't ask me any questions. Because if you ask me any questions, that means you don't know it. So that criteria helps me to understand, okay, who has it and who doesn't. And it will be so funny because the kids will want to ask me a question so badly, but they knew if they asked me, they could not exit. So that's one of the things that you have to put in place to make sure that you're testing them and not you. So that's how progress monitoring works. Now, what should you be looking for in your data? Now, this is my data on my screener for universal screening. Now, the data, it looks horrible. It does. Now, when I look at this, what I'm looking for is where is that, what do they say, bell curve? I don't really have a bell curve, but these kids here, my average, most of these kids are in the middle. Now on here, these bars, the taller they are, if they get to this line, they'll go to the next color. So I'm trying to figure out who's going to be a candidate for intervention. I'm going to be honest with you. My kids that are very, very far behind, like 3 grade levels, I put them in intervention, but I also supplement them on programs. My SPED kids, they did very well with self-pacing things that was very explicit and tailored to their needs. So like if you're doing Edpuzzle, if you make videos, while you're in small group, you don't necessarily have to pull those kids. You can check in with them, which I used to. I would bring them to my group every now and again to see where they were. And in class, I could tell that they were moving on because they were more engaged. Also, you can front load content with SPED kids and let them work independently. That worked wonders for a lot of my students because if you know as well as I do, a lot of our lessons, the pacing it's too fast for them. And having some stuff where they can go watch videos, and it's even better if it's you, they really grasp that. It's really good. Now, in this data, you need to be looking for your grouping your kids. That's the first thing. How are you going to group the kids? Now, I group kids based on quantitative and qualitative data, meaning qualitative is what? This is this raw data here. And the qualitative data is why. It tells why this data looks like this. So that's why, another reason why I say wait until a grading period for those students before you start intervention, because you need to get some qualitative data on the kids as well as know their academic history. If the kids are attendance issues, I generally put them in there and I track my students as far as absences. So in my store, I have anecdotal notes that I created for myself because there were none out there. And I track my kids, write down what they're doing because today was a small group day for me. And I had 2 kids absent. So when you have to go back to like your data digs, you can say, well, this child was absent on this day. We had small group. So if it speaks to why your numbers or that student is not growing instead of going to a data dig without anything. Those anecdotal notes are really, really helpful. Now, when you're looking at that data, over time, you should be progress monitoring your kids twice a week. Now, my school district uses Renaissance. If you find something, I know Moby Max, I pay for that because it's geared towards kids that struggle. And it has a progress monitoring tool in there to measure to see where the kids are growing or not. I don't use it because my district has it, but if you're looking for something that works, Moby Max has it built in there because they understand that the progress monitoring needs to be there. So over time, your data should actually move. As you can see, this was in January, the MOY. So my students, my strategies were working. If your data is stagnant, your strategies aren't working. It's nothing against you. You know, a lot of teachers get their feelings hurt. It's not really personal. It's not. Strategies sometimes don't work. Like strategies the previous year may not work for the kids the next year. They for darn sure ain't working in pandemic gaps. The pandemic gaps. It takes all the things. I have been teaching 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade math this year. I have gone down that low because the kids are missing. So on top of the regular gaps they have, they got these other gaps, which made this Grand Canyon gap. So it's not personal. If your strategy doesn't work, it just doesn't work. Try another one and vet the strategy with something that works for all your kids. Or it has to be a strategy that can be tailored to your students. If you are not using a strategy that's tailored to all of your students, when you get to intervention, you're going to find yourself hunting for another strategy. And that's what I tell teachers, that strategy needs to work on the front end for everyone and can be tailored for the kids in intervention. So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. What you do is you go ahead and chunk it like I did here. This is the same strategy, but in a tier 2 division strategy, it looks totally different because I broke it down and put more scaffolds and supports in for my tier 2 students. So go ahead and recap. So the first thing is, what is progress monitoring? Progress monitoring tells you, are your strategies working? Did they work? If not, go back to the drawing board. Second one is, how does it work? Intervention cycles. Depending on how long your cycles are, or cycle meaning how long you're going to work with the kids with this strategy, you go ahead and progress monitor after that strategy. And that's done over the course of the year. The progress monitoring tool that you use should be at the same level of the rigor of the standard as well as your standardized tests. And the third one is, what do you need to look for in your data? Look for ways to group your kids on the front end. And as you go progress monitor, look for whether or not the kids are moving or stagnant. Because there'll be some times where the kids will be stagnant and it's not working, and then you change the strategy or even adjust the strategy that you're using, chunk it a little bit more, put some more scaffolds in place, and then try it again in another cycle. So if you need more support with math intervention, definitely get on my wait list for the Math Intervention Academy. You can go to the mathinterventionacademy.com and hop on over to that wait list. So I hope that you have enjoyed this. I hope that these are tips that you can use to help you as we go through this crazy season of testing. I am entering it as well. Data. So look at those strategies, adjust where you need necessary. Try not to start over with new strategies. Adjust, scaffold, and add some supports in there for your kids that are struggling. Thank you for being a part of Teaching Tip Tuesday. And I'll see you all next week for another episode of Teaching Tip Tuesday. Don't forget to hop on over to YouTube, give this live stream a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell notification.